Ooh, look at that.
Hey guys, welcome back to my page. This is my first attempt at smoking beef back ribs on the Primo Grill smoker. You'll see at the end it comes out real nice, just like the intro, so just stay tuned. This rack of ribs was about $4.50 a pound, $22 for the full rack. Yes, there's a lot of bone in it, something to keep in mind, but the meat does come out super tender and juicy. You'll see. For the binder, I use Worcestershire sauce. For the rub, I use a combination of two different ones. One of them is my own salt, pepper, garlic mixture, and the other one was more of a sweeter rub finish that is meant for ribs. For the wood, I use a mixture of pecan and post oak wood, and the charcoal is from the Good Charcoal Company. I always like to use lumped charcoal for all my smokers. For the thermometer and also the blower fan that I'm using on the bottom, I'm using Fireboard Pro. I believe it's called the Fireboard 2 Drive Pro 2. But this thing is something that helps me smoke it in a set it and forget it type of fashion. One thing I love about the Primo compared to, I don't know, Big Green Egg or Kamado Joe is that it's got a nice oval shape that's 24 inches wide. It definitely allows me to maximize the space. So this is about 2-3 hours into it. Internal temp is about 145 degrees. We're smoking at about 225 for the first 2-3 hours. And I'm going to crank it up to about 250, 275 for the next 2 or 3. This is based off of like a 3-2-1 method or 2-2-1 method. So once it hits about 175, 180, that's when I like to wrap it. I'm going to use some aluminum foil. You can use butcher paper, whatever you want. I also was thinking about maybe just not wrapping it. Maybe I'll try that in the future. Just getting some nice color, bark action. So I did keep it wrapped for about an hour and a half or two. So my goal at the end of keeping a wrap for a couple hours is to see that the internal temperature throughout hits about 195, 190 minimum. And then I like to brush it with some barbecue sauce. Sometimes I just don't use any sauce at all. Brush with some barbecue sauce and put it back on the smoker for about an hour, which is typical of what you expect in a 3-2-1 or 2-2-1 method.
Ooh,
Look at that color. And yes, you can expect beef back ribs to look like this as it gets more finished. I mean, it definitely does look like pirate teeth. Just doesn't have the prettiest finished look, but it definitely is nice and tender on the inside. And that bark is setting in just perfect. Look at the finished product here. Looks gorgeous. One thing that I definitely do recommend for anyone slicing away at the ribs is to cut between the bones from the backside. Also, with the membrane intact on the backside, it definitely does make it a little more difficult to slice through it. because it's kind of like a crispy layer in the backside. Just keep it in mind. So this is a nice piece of rib right here. This one is tender, juicy. Not sure if I mentioned it earlier or not, but I'm a huge beef fan versus pork. I've made a lot of pork spare ribs and beef back ribs, but beef ribs is where it's at for me. So couldn't wait to try this out. Like I mentioned earlier, it does make it more difficult to slice through with the membrane in the back. Now this is where the fun part is. This side of the ribs came out a little bit more tender and flaky. Look at that. I just can't wait to pull apart that meat right there and just try it out. Who wouldn't want to eat that? God damn. There we go. Looking better and better every time I slice. Ooh. No sauce needed, but it's always good to just dip it sometimes. Yummy. Tell you guys, $4.50 a pound, or even $5 a pound for beef back ribs with a lot of bones inside. Definitely worth it, especially if you've already smoked some beef short ribs. You know how heavy those bones are. Those 4 pieces of bones, and beef short ribs are at least $8.50, $9 a pound for a rack. So this is a smaller investment. You still get some real tasty beef. This is probably my favorite part of the video right here. Now take a look at that right there. Best piece of rib out of the entire rack. That thing looks gorgeous. Unbelievable. So this first attempt came out super successful. I want to try it out on a different smoker next time. Check out the video for the second attempt. It's coming out real soon. If you got any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.